Okay, should be the final installment of the homework 5 set, again, parts 2, 3, and 4. Okay, I already alluded to what was going on in 2 here. So again, if you're a manager at penultimate whose bonus compensation was based on net income, which cost flow assumption would you prefer? Okay, so what did we already analyze? We said, well, we'd go with LIFO because why? Because the cost of goods sold on a LIFO was lower than first in, first out. And here's the slide that we talked about earlier. So again, here we have cost of goods sold under first in, first out versus last in, first out. So we see a smaller cost of goods sold here versus there. That's why you would definitely prefer last in, first out, because why? Because we have a period of declining prices as I described in the other one there. Now, if cost of inventory is rising instead of declining, would that change your answer? And of course, that would be yes. Again, the only reason that we're getting a higher net income under last in, first out versus FIFO is because inventory prices were declining. So again, if we switch it to the other way, like my original example was, rising inventory would give us opposite results. So now management would go with FIFO over LIFO. But remember, you pick a cost flow assumption, you have to stick to it, or you have to revise all previous periods as if you're using the new cost flow assumption. So that would be the penalty you'd have to pay if you decided to try and switch from one to the other. So in other words, we're trying to discourage people from manipulating net income willy-nilly because they feel the need to maximize net income or minimize taxes, whatever their preference is there. All right, part 3, this is going to deal with a lower of cost or market valuation. So we're going to deal with Tave's sporting goods at the following inventory at year end. So they had sticks, pucks, goalie masks, shoulder pads, and skates at those various units and unit costs. And again, we're going to compare cost of each of those units versus market. By market, we mean replacement cost, which means what would it cost us to get the same thing back in the same condition. So that's what you're looking at here. So we're going to do a by item analysis because that's the most meaningful. So for each one of these items, what we're going to do is take our units times cost per unit and market per unit, and then we'll compare the cost, total cost versus total market, and then do what? Pick the smaller one, right? That's all it is. So we're going to do first up for sticks, multiply that out, we'll get a cost of $8,750, market's $9,100. So for that one, we'll stick with cost because again, cost is smaller, so there's no write down in that case. We never write inventory up. That's important. Now pucks is 110, 9 is the market, so we'll get cost of 1,000 total, 900 for the market. So this is an instance of something that we would what? We would write down to $900. Now goalie masks 25 to 200 is cost, market's 175. So 5,000 is cost, market would be 43.75. So here's one where we're going to stick to, oops, my mistake there. I think I was thinking with the other example where I had it alternating. I don't have it alternating in this one, so just go with the number. Smaller one obviously is market there. Yes, a little fatigue going on. Oh well. Shoulder pads 50 at 100, 125 is market. So this one 5,000 cost, market 62.50. So yes, this is the one we would go with the cost of that one. Oops. Kind of erased it there or wrote over it, so it should be 5,000. And then lastly, skates is 200 at 75, 85 is the market, so 15,000 cost, 17,000 market. So that's another one that we will go with cost. So the only two that we're going to end up writing down here would be what? The pucks and the goalie masks. Everything else we would go with whatever the cost was there. Those are the only two we'd write down, and those are fairly modest write downs we're talking about. $100 and then $625. So total $725 of write down is what we're looking at here. So in other words, it's pretty small. Now if we switch to looking at total cost versus total market, we wouldn't write anything down because here's our total cost, $34,750. Here's total market, $37,625. So we would just go here with cost, and there would be no write down at all. So again, if your intent is to write something down, you should do a by item analysis. That's the only way you're really going to ever achieve that. All right, lastly, for this fifth homework set, we got one more thing to look at, and that is an analysis of some items, whether we should include or exclude them from our year-end inventory count. So for part 4 here, we have Halpern Rarity is going to ship $10,000 of merchandise with a cost of $7,000 on the last day of its operating period to Full-Time Superheroes Collectible Shop. Terms are 210 net 45 FOB destination. So the question is, should Halpern include the goods sold in their year-end inventory count? And the answer is yes. And why is that? Because again, they were shipped FOB destination, so they own them in transit. Therefore, they own them legally at the end of their operating period. So for matching purposes, we would have to do what? Both the cost of the goods sold and the sale should be booked in the following operating period. Remember, what was the principle you might apply there that you wouldn't make them do that? If this $10,000 in sales was insignificant, immaterial compared to the whole of their sales, we might say, well, then don't worry about it, right? So if it was 10,000 out of 5 million, we go, it's a drop in the bucket. But if it was 10,000 out of 100,000, we would definitely say that's significant, and we would make them basically move everything to the next operating period because it would be considered a material difference in their sales. All right, lastly, when should full-time superheroes include the goods in their inventory? And that would, of course, be in this case, it would be when delivered, because legal ownership doesn't transfer to full-time until the moment of delivery because it was FOB destination. So if they ordered that stuff and they were in, let's say their operating period ended in the previous, the month as well, they should do what? They would just say, well, we didn't own it until we actually took physical possession, so they would not include it in their inventory, whereas Halpern should. And that concludes the video sets for the fifth homework set total. So just 2 videos. Again, one kind of long one and one that's somewhat short. So look for the 6th homework set coming soon. If not already, maybe there. See you there.